Today, more than 70 congressional Democrats are calling for President Trump to be removed from office, either through impeachment or by his cabinet invoking the 25th Amendment. More than a quarter of congressional Democrats are questioning Trump's mental fitness after he threatened that Iran's whole civilization will die. And while reaction from sitting Republican lawmakers has been muted, Senator Lisa Murkowski issued a statement saying Trump's threat cannot be excused. MS Now's Michael Schnell is following this for us from Washington, D.C. Also here, Mark McKinnon, former advisor to George W. Bush and John McCain and creator of The Circus. So, Michael, where are we in this debate over Trump's fitness, and has the ceasefire announcement changed anything?
Yeah, Chris, certainly not for Democrats, right? Beforehand, as you mentioned yesterday, as the president's threats were playing out on Truth Social, we heard from dozens of Democrats who said that the president needed to be removed, whether that be through impeachment, whether that be through the 25th Amendment, both extremely high bars to clear. But just zeroing in on the 25th Amendment first, that would require a majority of the cabinet and the vice president to declare the president unfit for office. And then if the president objected, but the cabinet and the vice president wanted to go through with their belief, it would require at least 2/3 of both the House and the Senate to believe that the president is unfit for office and to have him be removed. An extremely high bar to clear. But yet those threats, those claims and that commentary from Democrats underscores the deep frustrations and concerns that they have with the president's posture and strategy when it comes to Iran. Now, when you talk about the Republican reaction, it's been diametrically different from Democrats. Yesterday, we did see some Democrats, some Republicans, in the lead up to that 8 p.m. deadline, voice concerns with the president's rhetoric, whether that be threatening to take out an entire civilization or some of his more vulgar language that he's used in some of those threats. For example, take Congressman Moran, a Republican. He wrote on X, quote, "So let me be clear, I do not support the destruction of a whole civilization. That is not who we are, and it is not consistent with the principles that have long guided America." And then take a listen to Senator Ron Johnson, Republican from Wisconsin, who's very close to President Trump.
I am hoping and praying that President Trump this really is bluster. I do not want to see us start blowing up civilian infrastructure. I do not want to see that. We are not at war with the Iranian people.
Now, Chris, we're not hearing any of that similar rhetoric today from Republicans. The main message that folks are saying is that they're happy with the ceasefire. They hope it holds. They hope that progress can be made for a diplomatic solution within the next 2 weeks, and that this is how President Trump operates, that he is a deal maker, and this was his strategy all along. So certainly a different vibe from yesterday to today, but really high stakes 2 weeks. We'll have to see how that plays out and keep an eye on how Republicans react at every twist and turn.
Yeah. So, Mark, Connecticut Democratic Congressman John Larson has filed articles of impeachment against Trump on top of all these calls for the 25th Amendment. But do you think it's politically useful for Democrats to call for things they can't deliver?
Not really. This is just sort of more of what we've heard ever since Trump was elected from Democrats. But I do think, and it's not until we start hearing that same sort of language and those sort of proposals from Republicans that anybody should take it seriously. And as mentioned by your correspondent, the bar is so high. I mean, the reason that Trump has the loyalists in the cabinet that he does is so that the 25th Amendment would never be invoked. So it never will. The broader implications, I think, are that the president is using the language of terrorists and religious fanatics now. So on a global As people around the globe and foreign leaders look to our country, the president has put himself on the level of terrorists and fundamentalist jihadists. So I just think diplomatically it puts the president and our country in a very difficult place going forward, because now we've just put ourselves in a very different level diplomatically on the world stage.
There's also Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth arguing that this ceasefire never would have happened, Mark, if Trump hadn't used the rhetoric that he has. Here's that.
That's why they came to the table. He ultimately said, we can take it all from you. Your ability to export energy will be taken away. And the United States military has the ability to strike those things with impunity. That type of threat is what brought them to the place where they effectively say, hey, OK, we want to cut this deal.
They had also simultaneously said that there. So now, anyway, let me ask you, does Trump, the successful negotiator, as an argument, hold up to the facts with the American people who will be voting, not for Donald Trump, but for Republicans who, whether they support him or not, have not been vocal about lack of support?
Well, I think that what they're going to look at is the results, and Hegseth's language is just laughable. What brought the Iranians to the table was they got exactly what they want. I mean, they're negotiating their 10-point proposal now, and things are much better for them now than they were before the start of the conflict. So I think ultimately the box that Republicans are going to be in is that they're going to have to defend this in the midterms and going forward. And I just think that no matter how much Hegseth and the Trump tries to spin this as some sort of advantage or a win for the United States, it's just laughable on his face when you look at the fact that Iran is just by the facts in a better place today than they were before.